Right, so why people even talk like he the best at, he didn't even fight at 135 yet.
Right.
He didn't even have power at 126, 30 or none of that.
He is good.
Okay. How can you, all that's just okay.
Think when's that fight between him and Teofimo Lopez if they fight?
If they fight, I think Shakur win. I think Shakur wins.
This reason, Teofimo Lopez, we've seen him at his best, but he typically brings out his best characteristics when he's back into the wall and he's counted out. And he's going to be counted out in this fight. By and large, people are going to side with Shakur in this fight to win.
Ahead of the highly anticipated matchup between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez, several boxing professionals shared mixed reactions and opinions. Gervonta Davis, in particular, voiced clear frustration while discussing Stevenson, questioning why he is often treated like a proven champion before truly delivering at the highest level of competition. Davis emphasized that reputation alone carries little weight in elite boxing, suggesting that genuine respect is only earned after being tested, challenged, and defeating top-tier opponents inside the ring.
35 contemporaries have a lot to say these days. Shakur Stevenson, well, of course, he's now 135 after all that stuff, and then Devin Haney.
Right, so why people even talk like he the best at, he didn't even fight at 135 yet.
Right.
He didn't even have power at 126, 30 or none of that.
He is good.
Okay. How can you, all that's just okay. How can you stop people that can actually hit? No matter all that boxing, you're going to get hit.
Paulie Malignaggi and Chris Algieri break down the upcoming showdown, analyzing the strengths of both fighters and how they are perceived by the public. Paulie notes that Lopez often faces criticism and is sometimes underestimated because Stevenson enjoys greater fame, a larger fan base, and higher visibility. As a result, many spectators naturally lean towards Stevenson, assuming he holds the advantage. However, Paulie emphasizes that fight night is when reputations are truly tested, and Lopez has the chance to rise above expectations. He predicts that Lopez will seize this moment to assert himself, showcasing his skill and resilience in the ring. According to Paulie, this fight represents Lopez's opportunity to demonstrate his talent on a global stage, proving to fans that he can compete at the highest level and potentially defeat Stevenson decisively.
Teofimo is at his most dangerous when he's counted out. And this is going to be one of those fights where he's going to be counted out. Because Shakur is looked at by and large as the guy who can dominate boxing in this generation, right? It's just a matter of him getting the opportunity. I myself have felt that he's the guy who could and should be dominating boxing if he gets the right matchups. But bro, this is one of the rare matchups, if not maybe the only matchup, where I feel like it's a big threat here to Shakur. And then it would all come undone only because of this reason. Teofimo Lopez, we've seen him at his best, but he typically brings out his best characteristics when he's back into the wall and he's counted out. And he's going to be counted out in this fight. By and large, people are going to side with Shakur in this fight to win the fight because he's the more consistent fighter, he's the more class fighter overall, and he's just so damn good. But Teofimo has a way, when you're so damn good and he knows you're so damn good and everybody feels like you're going to beat him, there's just something about Teofimo, man. He brings out a different level and somehow supersedes that guy who is that damn good. I've seen it. We've seen it already. I'm not saying anything that anybody else hasn't already seen, okay? I'm just stipulating it. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know who wins this fight. Because again, your better head says Shakur, but then you think about, man, Teofimo. Again,
he's got the X factor.
What I just explained.
He's got the talent to
I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
Shakur is extremely talented and could be the face of boxing as far as being that good and being that dominant, even though no matter how good you are. But this is one of the rare fights where you can get beat. And I don't ever want to hear any of you tank nut huggers that he fights one Uber driver after another. If Shakur Stevenson loses this fight, I don't ever want to hear any of you saying, oh, well, what about Shakur now? Tank this, tank that. Tank fights the guy that delivers my pizza. He fights the guys in the back that are doing the production. He fights the truck driver. I don't want to hear, because he would never have gone near.
Lamont Roach approaches the matchup with confidence in Shakur Stevenson's command of the ring, viewing it not as a battle of uncertainty or chaos, but as one defined by control and rhythm. From Roach's perspective, Stevenson is a fighter who dictates the pace from the opening seconds, using distance and timing to force opponents to fight at an uncomfortable speed. Roach believes that if these two were to face each other, Stevenson's ability to read movement and shut down offensive patterns would largely neutralize Teofimo Lopez's explosiveness. In his view, the bout would not turn into a war, but rather a demonstration of how precision and discipline can overcome aggression. Roach's assessment suggests that Stevenson's technical mastery would prevent the fight from ever becoming truly competitive, as Lopez would struggle to find consistent openings or maintain momentum.
Okay, cool.
But and doing that, and so I was always going to fight this year. He knew that too. I was always going to fight this year. It was going to be either like a tune-up or something before I fought him, if we were to get that together.
So who do you think wins that fight between him and Teofimo Lopez if they fight?
If they fight, I think Shakur wins. I think
Right.
Shakur wins. And I don't think it's going to be like a super tough fight either. I think he just, his IQ will frustrate him. And
But wow, don't you think T.O. has also good ring IQ and also is slick, fast?
I think so. But when you look at T.O.'s performances against guys that are just pure boxers, it's just like he almost lost to Sandor Martin. Some people thought he lost to Sandor Martin. Who else?
He did beat Loma, who's arguably at the time considered one of the best in the world.
He did, and that was a hell of a performance too. A hell of a performance too. So yeah, I mean, I think he's hit or miss. You got to think he got stuff. He a little cuckoo too. Like he has like a little mental lapses every once in a while. Look at the Kambosos fight. Like that's a fight that people would never expect Kambosos to win. And he won a grueling match against him as well. So I just, I don't know. I don't think he can get it done against Shakur when it comes to like, because it's going to be just a skill match. I don't think he's going to try to rough Shakur up. And this.
Roy Jones Jr. frames the matchup around preparation and execution rather than reputation, emphasizing that Lopez cannot afford any lapses in focus against a fighter like Stevenson. He explains that Stevenson thrives when opponents hesitate or break from their structure, quickly capitalizing on mistakes with precise counters and positional control. According to Jones, if Lopez enters the fight without his sharpest instincts and discipline, Stevenson will gradually dismantle him through accuracy and movement. While Jones does not dismiss Lopez's talent, he stresses that talent alone is not enough. Against a calculated fighter like Stevenson, every round counts. His warning underscores that Stevenson builds advantages patiently, and once momentum shifts in his favor, it becomes extremely difficult for an opponent to reverse the tide.
How does Shakur beat T.O. and vice versa? Stylistically, how does T.O. beat Shakur?
Stylistically, T.O. got to go in and go for broke. He got to go gamble. He got to take some, get some, and that's his only way to win. If he stays outside and boxes, Shakur gonna pick him apart. Shakur's a polished boxer with some of the best feet in the game right now, and he's a defensive-minded fighter, which is very smart. It's hard to hit him. He makes you gamble to hit him, and he's gonna be a tough one to deal with. But if Teofimo is willing to gamble to beat him, then Teofimo can definitely make it.
Rolly Romero frames the fight as a genuine 50-50 contest, emphasizing that both fighters have already reached championship level and proven themselves against elite opponents. He points out that neither Stevenson nor Lopez should be considered an underdog in terms of skill, highlighting instead the contrast in their styles. According to Romero, the outcome could swing either way depending on who imposes their game plan first, making timing, confidence, and in-fight decisions more decisive than any pre-fight expectations. By recognizing both athletes as world-class, Romero presents the matchup as unpredictable, where adaptability and strategy during the fight could ultimately determine the winner.
Great fight.
Yeah.
I think it's a great fight. You'll really see, because I mean, at the end of it, they're both Olympians. They're both multi-division world champions. Tio is an incredible fighter, and Shakur is an incredible fighter. Shakur has a really high boxing IQ and a very. Shakur coming out. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a good fight.
Gary Anchuan Russell emphasizes a particular version of Teofimo Lopez, rather than evaluating the fighter in general. He points to Lopez's performance against Lomachenko as a blueprint for success, noting that when Lopez fully commits to pressure while remaining composed, he becomes extremely difficult to handle. In this mode, Lopez controls the center of the ring, dictates exchanges on his own terms, and limits his opponent's ability to reset. Russell believes that if Lopez brings that same intensity and confidence against Stevenson, he could disrupt Stevenson's rhythm and prevent him from settling into a defensive groove. While this perspective does not diminish Stevenson's skill, it suggests that Lopez's peak performances demonstrate his ability to rise to elite challenges when mentally locked in.
Play out in the ring.
It's 50-50. In order for you to participate in this sport, you got to have a high level of confidence. I feel like both of them has a high level of confidence, Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson, but styles make fights. Naturally, I think Teofimo Lopez is stronger than Shakur. Naturally, I think he has more athleticism than Shakur, and he got a good IQ on the sport itself. But Shakur, I feel like he's a more smarter fighter. He's a more technical fighter. I'm not saying that he's a square or he's just a textbook fighter, but he's seasoned, he's poised. I feel like mentally he's more mature. Like he don't go outside of the boundaries on taking risks. So a lot of times you'll see him fight somebody that could be stiff competition, and it'll wind up being a born fight to a degree. That's why everybody was criticizing him for, oh, he's a born fighter. He's a careful fighter. And I feel like with Teofimo Lopez, he's going to be a careful fighter. Just because he's a careful fighter doesn't mean that he isn't punctual with how he do things. I think Shakur, he got a lot of this arsenal that he can use to make him be victorious as well as Teofimo Lopez. You know what I mean? So it's a 50-50 fight, and it depends on what fighters show up the night of the fight. Right. But if I had to give you my whole honest truth, if Teofimo Lopez show up and is ready to fight just like how he fought Lomachenko.
Several analysts break down the matchup by highlighting the fighter's physical attributes. They point out that Lopez possesses slightly more raw strength, which could influence exchanges and key moments along the ropes, while Stevenson is praised for his speed, particularly in footwork and hand placement. This balance, they argue, makes the contest even, as each fighter's strengths can counter the others. Raw power can limit an opponent's movement, whereas speed can neutralize strength by avoiding clean shots. As a result, the fight takes on the nature of a strategic chess match rather than a straightforward brawl, with analysts noting that the fighter who successfully leverages their physical advantage will likely control the tempo and direction of the bout.
The difference between the two, for me, I think that Teofimo might be a little bit stronger of the two. But, speed can sometimes nullify power.
Right. It depends on if you can use your speed to get you from round to round, as opposed to...
Eddie Atlas pushes back against the criticism that Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez have faced over the years, noting that claims they avoided tough opponents no longer hold weight. He emphasizes that both fighters are now stepping into challenging matchups that many did not expect them to take, a decision that deserves respect. While Atlas acknowledges there may be doubts about whether their styles will produce an explosive or electrifying fight, he stresses that entertainment doesn't only come from chaos. Instead, this bout promises a high-level display of skill and intelligence. Highlighting Stevenson's recent performances, Atlas points out how he seamlessly blended aggression with elusiveness, controlled the space, fought effectively on the inside, and punished mistakes both up close and at range. For Atlas, this matchup represents the true essence of the sweet science rather than mere spectacle.
And Teofimo at certain spots, he's avoiding this guy, he's avoiding that guy. You can't take those shots at these two guys. Definitely can't now. They are stepping up, and they are taking fights that a lot of people are probably surprised they took. Now, a lot of people will say style-wise, Teddy, style-wise, is this going to be a great fight? I don't know if it will. I mean, style-wise, I can see you having a little reservations, whether or not these guys will make for dynamite. They will make, for electricity. I don't know if they will. But I tell you what they will make for. 2 skillful fighters, 2 talented fighters, 2 fighters that are at a high skill level that will compete in the sweet science. I mean, Shakur showed aggression in his last fight against Zepeda, being elusive while being aggressive, walking them down, fighting on the inside, boxing well, still being able to counter, still being able to control space, but also be able to go into tight quarters and not be afraid to show that he's good on the inside too, that he can make you miss and make you pay outside and inside. Shakur showed that. That was great. That was great, and people applaud him. I applaud him. We were sitting there, ringside. I was sitting there actually with your sister, ringside, watching that fight. And it was a terrific performance. Shakur showing that dimension, showing that attitude, showing that competitiveness, showing that dog like people like to show or like to talk about. And they wanted to.
Timothy Bradley adds depth to the discussion by warning against underestimating Teofimo Lopez, stressing that this will not be an easy fight for Stevenson despite any technical edge. He highlights Lopez's unpredictability and confidence, qualities that can unsettle even the most disciplined opponents. Bradley describes Lopez as highly autonomous in the ring, capable of making spontaneous decisions that can shift the momentum of a fight. This independence, he argues, makes Lopez particularly dangerous, as he doesn't rely solely on instructions or established patterns. For Stevenson, it means he must remain constantly aware and adaptable, ready to respond when Lopez breaks conventional strategies. Bradley's analysis suggests that Stevenson cannot depend purely on fundamentals but must be prepared for moments of improvisation that could define the fight.
Nope, it ain't gonna be an easy fight. Nope. After studying freaking Lopez yesterday, man, look, that athleticism that he got, that speed that he got, the boy is a what's the name I'm looking for? What can I say? He's autonomous. That's the word I'm looking for. He's an autonomous fighter. Okay? What does that mean, autonomous fighter, Tim? Shakur is too. Just like Floyd is. Just like Crawford is. Just like Inoue is. Young fighters want to get to that point in their career where they become autonomous fighters. Okay? Where you don't need no damn instructions. You don't need no guidance. You know how to figure it out. Your fundamentals are so damn sound that you got skills now built on top of those fundamentals. Now it's second nature for you. You know what I'm saying? You didn't see the same patterns and rhythms and styles and so on and so forth that it's second nature. It's nothing for you. These guys can operate without any damn instructions, without being told what to do. That's how great these dudes are. Or I should say good they are. They still got to prove they great, right? But, look, the thing that surprised me about T.O. last night after watching him, man, is that his speed and quickness and how fast he's able to strike. Look, I'm going to tell you where he's going. I'm going to tell you where he.
Analyst Henry frames the matchup between Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson as the kind of fight that brings out Lopez's best. He explains that Lopez thrives against elite opponents, suggesting that his ceiling depends on the quality of the competition he faces. While Lopez has experienced defeats in the past, Henry argues that these setbacks do not define his limits, and this fight could showcase the most complete version of him yet. Turning to Stevenson, Henry highlights his undefeated record and consistent performances, noting that both fighters are the same age and in the prime of their athletic careers. Their similar physical dimensions on paper add to the intrigue and risk of the bout. For Henry, this fight is a true test for both men, challenging their skill, adaptability, and mindset at the highest level.
Needs opponents like Shakur Stevenson because they are elite fighters. He needs that to bring out the very best in him. I just can't see how it's possible that whilst Teofimo, we've seen a ceiling with him in terms of he's been beaten by certain opponents, we know that he can lose in the ring. But I don't know if that's a genuine ceiling, because I think that his ceiling is actually one of the most changeable in boxing based on who's in front of him. And so actually, I think there's a very, very good chance we're going to see the best possible version of Teofimo Lopez in the ring against Shakur Stevenson. But we should talk about Shakur Stevenson before we get into the nuts and bolts of the fight, what it might look like, and why it is so risky for both men. Now, Shakur Stevenson is currently undefeated. He's 24-0 with 11 KOs. He turned pro back in 2017. He's the same age as Teofimo Lopez at 28 years old, both men in their athletic primes. He's 5'8". These are on paper heights, so potentially a little bit shorter. He could even be a bit taller than Teofimo Lopez. I really need to see them next to each other to make that assessment. No lifts in the shoes, all that stuff. But around the same size is the most important thing. The difference, though, with Shakur Stevenson is he's actually a 3-weight division world champion, and he started a division lower than Teofimo Lopez, meaning naturally it would appear that he's slightly the smaller man. Although that doesn't necessarily mean they're now not the same size. He could easily have filled out to be roughly the same size as Teofimo Lopez is on the night in the ring. Now, for me, I'm going to jump back to 2021 to first start talking about Shakur Stevenson, when he managed to get a win over Jamel Herring. Again, he'd had significant wins before this fight, but it was the first one where I really tuned into his career. Notable wins had already come against Joet Gonzalez, Jeremiah Nakathila, but no one that was really a household name. Maybe Joet Gonzalez. No giant names. Jamel Herring was the first one where I was like, I know who Jamel Herring is. He beat Carl Frampton. He beat Lamont Roach. This is a very, very decent operator. And what can I say? I mean, Shakur Stevenson just absolutely dominated him and TKO'd him in the 10th round of their fight. But this was a really, really landmark, standout performance from Shakur Stevenson.